Welcome to the Journey Podcast, the podcast that's all about you. The podcast that interviews interesting guests and listens to their journeys of where they've been, where they are now, and where they are going. Well, welcome to the Journey Podcast. Today, I am excited to have Jon Haas from betterwifi.net. Now, John and I met through a virtual event during the pandemic. Kind of an odd way, I thought, to meet people, but because I go to a lot of different conferences and events all over the country, and I met John in kind of a way that I met a lot of weird people online, but John was not one of those weird people. I was in a chat room at a virtual conference, and John just really stood out to me as somebody who really wanted to help his community and grow his business by servicing those with better technology resources. So we have John here. How you doing today, John?
I'm doing well, very good.
And it's great to see you here virtually. We've never met in person, but I feel like today will be an opportunity for me to get to know you better, and hopefully one of these days when we ever figure out how to actually have real in live person events again. It seems like here 2021, 2022, you would think we would be having more of those again, but hopefully here later on in the year that'll happen.
I do miss actually going to meet people and shaking hands, rubbing elbows. That's where you can definitely find a good I would say connection almost. You can be anybody on the line, but in person you are who you are.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just so important. And you're in probably one of my second favorite states. Ohio's my home state. I like Illinois. You're near Rockford, Illinois, which you said is about 2 hours west of Chicago. Do I get that right?
Yep, about 2 hours west of Chicago, about an hour south of Madison, Wisconsin. So it's a really great place to be.
Yeah, nice area of the country, probably similar to my area of Cleveland, Ohio. Good down-to-earth people, hardworking Americans who need some great technology service. So tell us about your company, John, what you do, and that those types of things at betterwifi.net.
So what started off as a little bit of a side business, I worked for an internet service provider. People constantly ask, can we make the Wi-Fi better? Because it's usually in a place of the house that it's real good in that corner of the house, because that's where us as installers would put them. The reason for that is because we had efficiency metrics that we had to meet, and how the companies viewed Wi-Fi. So people would often get things like a Wi-Fi extender, but then get really frustrated with the lack of a good connection. Like, it's connected real good, but it's slow. But then they go downstairs near the modem, then it's faster. So I started helping people design like a Wi-Fi system. This was about the time that mesh has become real popular. So, telling people about, I believe it's Eero. My favorite that I installed with people for their Wi-Fi was Ubiquiti. Ubiquiti, I think, is an awesome company. It's got awesome products, easy to use. So I started doing that. And from there, it became just kind of snowballed to the point where I'm like, okay, let's start, let's make this official. So January 2020, I contacted my lawyer. We got going. We got the name picked out. We started doing the legal side. She submitted it the first week of February 2020, and then we know what happened. Or I'm sorry, it probably is towards the end of February. And the first week of March, we know what happened with COVID. And so
then everybody needed Wi-Fi, John.
Oh, they did, but nobody wanted to pay for it.
Right.
That's the problem. So towards the end of the summer that year, somebody was asking me about Microsoft licensing. That's where I found our cloud solution provider, SureWeb, and
Yeah, great,
that's where I
great
met you.
provider
Was
there.
there? Yeah, they were. That conference was an eye opener for me.
Hmm.
So I started marketing myself more and more. I was still, luckily, I was still full-time employed at that point. So a lot of the stuff that I was doing was after hours on weekends. And I jumped into it full-time April 2021 when I got laid off.
Awesome.
And it's been the best thing ever.
So great. So you've been almost a full year as of the air date, almost a full year full time in the business, and
Mhm.
so you're in the role of that today. Do you have any team members at this point, or you just yourself?
Right now, it's just myself.
Okay.
I've designed things to, uh, I wouldn't say be easy, but where a lot of, remediation tasks are done automatically.
Yeah. And John, you and I have connected because we use a lot of the same type of technologies and
Mhm.
solutions and have very similar companies. But and I think that and that's one of the things that makes this particular industry unique, the managed service provider, is because a lot of us are very local based because we have to be, because even though it's virtual, we can literally go anywhere. That local contact is very important for our clients. And
Yes.
sometimes we run across a client that has a branch or another company that they need us to maintain, but it's well out of our area. And so we've had to partner with other MSPs to make sure that we can get that done. To maintain the relationships with the clients that we have locally, we need to
Yeah.
maintain relationships. So that's what I love about the MSP community, is that we have all done very well to work together to bring each other up. And I think that's what's so just completely different about this industry as the others is, yeah, we're competing, but not really. We really just need to work together and build a huge service network together, which is really, really neat. So
Yeah.
with almost 2 years you've had in business, what's the one thing that you didn't expect so far?
Sales, you
Sales,
know,
okay.
yeah. Um, I'm a very technical person. Uh, with my background and how I think, problem solving, I love doing. It is phenomenal for me. But one thing I didn't expect is how to implement sales. And,
Mm,
you know, I s- I had to do a character check almost like, okay, do you realize where you're at right now? Is this something that you can continue with forward? Um, so I took it on as a challenge. Not saying I'm a great salesman, but I do enough. So, uh, with being an MSP, especially IT services, it's a very relational transaction.
right,
People get their person and then they stick to them.
right.
So learning how to find that ideal customer to offer my services to, sales has been the hardest part of me for me to implement. You know, I just never thought of myself as a salesman until this year.
Yeah, and do you think that do you find that your customers are connecting with you because you're not necessarily that salesperson? You know it, and you know that what you're selling is good. Do you think that connects well with your clients?
Well, with the different jobs I had over the years, um, one thing that I've always been able to talk with has been tradesmen, uh, because the ISP world, that's the old telephone world.
Right.
That was a trade that they had. I worked in a factory for a few years where I was in facility maintenance, to where I was a point of contact for all the different contractors that would come into maintenance things. Um, so when I get in front of uh, a trades company, I am able to talk to them on their level. And that's where majority of my clients have actually come from.
Hmm, that's awesome. So maybe you're the MSP to the trade world there. It's a good knack to make, because you're going to do business with people that are similar to you in some form or another, because people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's finding your customer where you are at in the community you're at, whatever that community may be. It may be a broad community, but maybe it's a community of tradesmen and
Mhm.
and those things.
Yep.
That's huge. So
One of the jobs I had right out of high school was with a machine shop here in where I live in Dixon. So taking that knowledge that I have there, even though I only spent a few months there, I'm able to take that to Rockford. Rockford used to be the largest nut and bolt manufacturer in the world until the late 80s. So there's still a lot of that industry and a lot of that mindset that's up there. And it's easier, I've found, to connect with some of those when they start talking things about like CNC equipment. I'm like, oh yeah, I know about that. This is the challenges you're going to see with IT and your CNC machining. So it's definitely not being fully immersed in the IT world for my whole career has definitely helped me as a business owner to reach those people.
yeah, that's awesome to bring something well-rounded into that environment and actually understand what that machinist or what that shop manager is dealing with every single day, and you could provide a solution to them. But
Yeah.
in that, I'm sure that you get maybe some crazy requests. What's one common myth about what you do for your customers?
So I've said this quite a few times. Um, I manage an IT environment. I will help you manage your computers and your workstations, but I'm not a computer repairman. You know, I will
Mm,
I will change out a hard drive for a solid state drive. Maybe if there's more RAM that needs to be added. But if you crack a screen on your laptop or your keyboard, something like that, I got a couple contacts. I send my clients to them to be able to get their stuff repaired in a economical and efficient manner.
so you're not the fix-it man. So a lot of people think that
No,
you can fix anything. So
that that's where I get a lot of phone calls. Can you come fix this? I'm like, no, that's not what I do.
So in your journey with the business so far, what would you say is the biggest challenge you're facing right now?
Ooh, that's a good question. The biggest challenge I'm facing right now is, I've got my why I'm doing this. I am wanting to reach more people with that why. Um, Marketing is something that I'm going to be focusing on in the next year. Uh, I've got great relationships with a bunch of people who are awesome networkers, and helping for them to find that when they hear that complaint, or where they hear that, hey, we're hiring a new employee, the praise, that they can go, oh, you know what? Have you thought about IT services? Because this is the guy that we use.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's important. It takes time to build those networks and it's a lot of work to just
Yes.
talk and listen and understand and everything.
Yes.
Um, and this maybe could be a career question or more of the last 2 years question, but what's the most important lesson that you've learned that you bring to the table in your current role?
Uh, ooh. So um, the art of listening to the complaint that the customer has,
Mm,
you know, that's not just in the business I was in. It was also with the ISP. Somebody saying the Wi-Fi is bad. Well, when you get there and you find out it's really not the Wi-Fi, but that's the best way that they could explain it.
mhm.
So when I get those customers and they're like, hey, this isn't working, you know, crafting that question, my return question, that shows that I listen to them, but I'm trying to dig deeper. That is that's a lesson that I'm constantly having to work on, because you're technical. Wi-Fi is down. Oh, shoot. So there's no radio signal. That's what sometimes we think. But in reality, it can mean, oh, I can't just access Facebook.
Right.
Like what we had what would that have been? Back in October.
Yeah. Facebook was down and my internet's not working, right?
Yeah.
Maybe
Yep.
Facebook is the whole internet to that client. It's understanding what they need.
Yep.
Yeah. That's and so maybe this leads to my next question. What would you say is the most important strength in somebody's personality to be successful in your type of industry?
Perseverance,
Okay.
definitely. In the IT world, like I mentioned earlier, it is very much a relational service industry. It is one where people get their guy. They constantly say, "Hey, call the computer guy," and that's what they get. And they understand that. So if this is something that you're wanting to get into and be a business owner, and you've really got to persevere and somehow become that person's guy, or where they think of something tangible that they've got, and then that becomes, oh, the connection from there to what you sell or what you do.
That's good. That's good. So, what's one piece of advice you'd give to somebody starting out in your career?
Learn sales.
Learn sales.
That's make or break. You can have the best processes in the world. You can have the best tools. You can have the best vendors. And if you can't sell it, you can't make a living.
So, and I'm sure, I mean, you've built this on your own, but do you have any mentors, somebody who's been speaking to you to help you continue to persevere and find these things out for yourself?
I've got family. They're my biggest support. They really are. But as far as somebody that is business driven, I've actually listened to a lot of podcasts. One of my favorites is Brad Lee, where it isn't just sales that he talks about, even though that's what he's excellent at, but different aspects of life he brings into that. So locally, my BNI group has been awesome. I joined them back in May, and not only have I gotten a lot of referrals from them that have helped my business grow, but there's quite a few members there that I talk to on a regular basis that they're like, yeah, this is what you should do.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what's one lesson that this job has taught you that you think everybody should learn, no matter their industry?
You got to really become an expert in your industry, but be humble about it. There's a lot of IT people. There's a lot of HVAC guys, a lot of roofers, and the ones that I see succeed a lot, they know they're great, and they're going to be the first ones to tell you that they messed up, that they don't know. They don't lord it over you. They teach you a little bit as they explain what's wrong.
So do you think there is a lot of arrogance in the IT world?
I think that there is, especially when me being a newcomer into this industry, I'm seeing people that are settled in this industry that have their way, and anything else is not the correct way.
How do you think that is?
IT is a very technical field. So we've got a process. We sit there and we think it through, and there's a reason why we use it. And we may have tried out 13, 14 other things that didn't work or didn't work as well. So some of that comes with our process. Some of it also comes with the whole idea that computers are mystical and mythical beings that we've got to tame, and when it's just a process of elimination.
That's good stuff. So is this something you always wanted to do, was to be an IT professional, or did you wake up one day in 2020 and be like, today, John, this is what we're doing?
So I started my IT journey back in like 2015,
Okay.
2016. I had bought a Dell R420 and I had started Google Coursera, or the Coursera Google Support IT Professionals, what is that, certification.
Okay.
So I was getting into it. I was on Reddit with the whole home labs and self-hosted, learning how to automate things, how to store things. But that is when I got serious about it. I just saw a post, I think on LinkedIn from Cloudflare that's asked, when was the first time you connect to the internet? And I had to sit there and think, I want to say it was 1996 or 1997.
The dial-up connection.
The dial-up connection. I mean, I don't think even cell phones were even prevalent then. I remember a few years after that, my dad had one of those Nextel two-way cell phones.
Wow.
Forgot
about those.
I'm dating myself.
Yeah. Those things were annoying, to be honest.
Didnt. And so that's the first time I ever knew about the internet and having a computer then. And then fast forward into the early 2000s, my parents went out, got 2 computers, and they bought 2 copies of Age of Empires. And me and my brothers wanted to play each other. So I don't even think there was really a consumer grade Switch then. I think all we had was hubs. But even then, it wasn't real good for gameplay. So I hooked an Ethernet cord between the 2, and I would have to figure out how to do the adapter settings so we can play. So I think that's when it started for me. And then in the mid like 2004, right around the dot-com bubble burst, my parents wanted to try selling juicers, dehydrators online. My dad picked up HTML for Dummies, couldn't figure it out, just kind of left it laying there. I picked it up. I'm like, oh, okay. So I took one of those computers, put an Apache web server on it, and created a PHP based website in the span of, I want to say, 6 months at the age of about 16.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've always been talented at it, I guess you can say, but I got really serious about it back in 2015, 2016.
And that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about that Apache web server and thinking, man, that was a long time ago when you would think of hosting your own web server on your home PC. Oh, the disaster that would be today. So
I was dealing with PHP 4, and we're up to what, 7 now?
yeah, exactly, something like that. Probably PHP 8. It's been so long since I messed with it. I don't even know what the standard is anymore. I decided to depart from coding myself. So
yes.
Yeah, play around with PowerShell is about as far as I get these days. So
I love PowerShell. It makes my life so much easier.
It really does. So this is a fun question I ask everybody who's on the podcast. And I think it's going to be fun today because I'm a peer. So we'll see if it actually works. What's one thing about your job or your field as an MSP that no one agrees with you about? Let's see if I agree with you or not.
You don't need an RMM.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I agree with that. So
and I'm gonna speak as a newcomer into this.
Okay. Yeah, you have to give me a reason why now.
So an RMM is the persistent connection to a device. And after what happened with Kaseya in July, SolarWinds about a year ago, ransomware and actors, they're trying to figure out how to do the most damage as quickly as possible.
Right.
A lot of these RMMs, speaking from other people in the industry, that they're built on legacy code, Kaseya and SolarWinds being the prime example. So I've always struggled with, do I need an RMM? There is definitely, I see the need currently for one. Intune from Microsoft is getting really good. Thanks to Kevin and the Cyber Drain improved partner portal that he just launched. That is getting very good as for the multi-tenant Microsoft. I forgot her name. She's up in Michigan. She runs an MSP. She hasn't had an RMM in quite a few years and just did a big thing about it. So looking forward, I think we're having to do away possibly with RMMs or finding a way to make it more secure. And until something's going to happen where one of those is going to fail first, and if we don't have an immediate answer for that, it's going to go away through regulation.
John, I'll have to get you on my other podcast, a little bit more technical, and we'll have to chat about RMM. I think that's why MSP should or should not. I think we should make that a question. Throw it out there, light it on fire, let everybody argue about it for a while.
Yeah,
because I have very strong opinions about it myself. So
and I understand the need. You know, I've played with tactical. I've played with super ops. I've played with was it Ninja?
Yeah, there's Ninja. I've been in them all. I've played with just about every single one on the market.
And Synchro, you know, I've played with them all. I see the power behind it, and it's great. But at the same time, it's, you know, you're looking at these supply chain attacks. You know, there's now, because of that, we got regulation coming, you know, for MSPs. So what is going to give first? Are we going to get a secure platform? Or are we going to have to do away with it? That's the big one.
All right. So moving away from RMMs, which is the way for MSPs to stay productive. But besides not having an RMM or having an RMM, what's your favorite productivity hack for entrepreneurs such as yourself?
My favorite productivity hack? Oof. I like to break up my workload throughout the whole day. I don't clock in at 9 a.m. and clock out at 5 and just leave it to go, because, you know, my customers, I've got a customer that works until 6 o'clock at night, and then the owner is still doing work until 8 o'clock. So what I like to do is take chunks of time during the middle of the day and get away from the computer. Either read a book, go have a cigar, read book, cigar, go for a walk. You know, I got kids, so I take a chunk of the day from 3 to 4 to go pick them up from daycare and get to know them, help them do their homework. So that way I can take from 4 to 5 to work on some things, come back, I do some dinner with them, with my girlfriend and her son. You know, I try to make sure I have time for everybody.
Yeah, that's great.
So one of the things that I've committed to doing is a couple nights a week, I do shut off after 6, you know, because that is family time.
Right.
Trying to juggle everything is hard. It really is. This is probably the hardest job I've had, but it's definitely been the most rewarding.
So are you a morning person, or are you like a night owl work type of person?
Definitely morning. Definitely morning. I can hit my bed, you know, 8 o'clock at night, pass out, and then I can be up wide awake, ready to go 4:30, full of energy. You know, I've done that before. Typically I go to bed between 10 and 11 at night, and I'm up at 5 to 6 a.m. depending on what I got planned out in my mind for the next day.
Wow, that's great. Yeah. So
most of my product, sorry.
No, I'm not a morning person, so good for you. So
yeah, most of my productivity happens actually between 5 and 8 a.m. I want to say.
No, I'm just drinking coffee still. So
I'm drinking coffee, getting the kids out the door, sending off a few emails, checking on my customers.
Yeah.
I
I'll
do
take
so
over
much.
at 8 for you, John. So
Go ahead.
that's about where I start. So, all right. So, what do you think is the most underrated tools that are indispensable for your job?
Being able to communicate.
Okay.
People don't think that's a tool, but being able to explain to a customer, how the process works, getting a hold of a customer that might be having some difficulty, getting a hold of your networking peers. you know Communication is vital to everything that you do. If you can't communicate, how do you expect to either be understood or for them to understand you?
Mm, so true. Yeah. And there's so many different ways to communicate, and people just choose not to communicate altogether.
Yep. The
Yeah.
one sentence email typically isn't going to communicate a whole lot,
Right.
unless if it's in the form of a question.
Right. So, if you could start a business tomorrow,
Mhm.
besides the one you have, what business would that be?
Mm, Ooh, yeah, I got so many things in mind actually. So locally, we have this now defunct family video building, and
Oh,
I've thought about doing like a shared office space,
okay.
um, where you can have, and not just because I know there's a couple other companies out there that kind of do the same thing, but the research I've done, um, people are working from home more than ever. And I can tell you, as somebody who's now working at home, I love it. But there's times I just want to pack up, go somewhere else. It's a change of scenery, with knowing that I've got a secure place to do that in. So I've been thinking about doing like a shared office space with a couple meeting rooms and even a couple content creation rooms where somebody can come in if they're doing content for their business, like kind of like what we're doing now. They can
Yeah.
have a standard background, they can have decent equipment. The only thing that they need to provide is a like a workstation to store their stuff into.
Yeah, that's a great idea. John, I hope you get the chance to travel out to our offices here and check out the setup that we have as well. So we do some similar things here as
Did
well.
you do a shared office space?
Don't have anybody to share it with though, so I was hoping you
Oh.
would come share it with me. So no, we have some shared meeting rooms and things like that. Plus, we have the podcasting video equipment that we do make available to different partners. So it's definitely a similar vein, but maybe not as grand of a scheme as yours right now. Maybe I need to expand my vision a little bit. So
Yeah, well, if it becomes a multi-million-dollar idea, I want
I
to
have to
partner.
I have to send you at least 1%, right?
Yeah,
So,
I'll be happy with a 0.5%.
okay, 0.5%. You said it.
All
So
right.
well, John, I really appreciate you being on the Journey podcast today. We got some rapid fire questions here at the end, just a couple of things
Okay.
off the cuff. What are 3 books you would recommend to the audience and why?
Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. It is phenomenal negotiation.
Okay.
I would never, that's probably the first book I would ever recommend to anybody, is that. Second book, the good question. I'm sitting here looking at my desk because I got like 15 of them right here. There's Marketing Made Simple. That's one I'm going through right now, and it's been phenomenal in how I'm talking with the lady that's going to help me with marketing. It's not so much that I'm doing it myself, it's helping me to understand her. And I see, I read a lot of fictional books too, just because I want time away from constant daily grind. So I really don't have a good third business book
Oh, it could be a fictional book too. We haven't had any of those so far in the podcast.
I like the Endless Knot series by Stephen Lawhead. It
All
is
right.
a Celtic reimagination.
That's awesome. Hey, so sometimes I get ideas reading a fiction book or watching a movie, and it's a business idea. They come from the most unlikely sources. So, okay. So, next question. I'm starting a business today. What's one word of wisdom that you would give me?
Make sure you are ready for what's going to come at you.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it not so much prepare for it, but understand that some adversity, some downs are going to come. Are you prepared for those low points?
Hmm. So I asked you a lot of questions today, John, but what's one question you wish I would have asked you?
Ooh. Is there anything outside of my business that was impactful to me?
Oh, okay. So
Uh,
tell us what that is.
so I was a firefighter EMT for 8 years at a
Wow.
volunteer fire department. My dad was on it because he was a full-time firefighter paramedic where he was at. And then he would volunteer when he wasn't actually at work. My mom was an EMT, so I just kind of blended the two. You learn a lot about teamwork and communications in times when it's really stressful. Um, I got a lot of stories from stuff like that, but there's those moments were probably the most impactful to my adult life to where I am now.
Wow. That's really good stuff. John Haas from betterwifi.net. John, tell us about where our listeners can find you online. Tell us about your social media and the company that you represent.
Yeah, so they can find me at LinkedIn. Look for John Haas. My company name is JH Technology. We are going to be doing we're going to switch from betterwifi.net. That was basically like a legacy idea I had from when I did a lot of break fix and side work. We are going to keep that up and going, and I'm looking forward to actually possibly doing a little bit of a consumer division with my company. So they can find me at betterwifi.net. LinkedIn, definitely the John Haas, JH Technology. Facebook, you can look for JH Technology LLC, and it will take you right to me.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your story here on the Journey podcast, John. It was definitely a pleasure getting to know you better. And we look forward to spending more time again with you in other avenues.
Yep. Thank you for having me. And this has been a wonderful time. I love it.
All right. Thank you so much for being a part of the Journey podcast.